It is the 8th of March. This is Rabbi Levitt, Pele Yoetz.
Okay, so we were just saying, based upon what we saw in the first paragraph, that Pele Yoetz has given us a eye opener into what our perspective should be in terms of our avodas Hashem. That even though we don't know exactly how to define it, but we see that there's two categories of actions and deeds and words and things of this sort. There's things that we are obligated to do, and then there's things that we're not obligated to do, and they would fall into the category of Hasidus. Maybe we could define it like that. If that's not a good enough definition, we'll try to improve it in the next few paragraphs. That the Pele Yoetz is going to give us more about this matter. But what he's told us so far is a tremendous insight. That what he's told us is that simply say that, well, we're obligated, whatever we're obligated to do, that's what we have to do, and we don't need to do anything more than that. That's not a proper, not a proper approach whatsoever. That's really what we should be coming out from with this first paragraph that he's saying, based upon this what he said over here.
That's what I have difficulty with.
So Hasidus is going further than you're obliged to.
Right. You have a certain obligation to go to get to first base. That's your obligation, let's say. Oh, Roy doesn't know what first base is.
I do.
Oh, he does. He's learned a lot from us in the last few years. Okay. Very good, Roy. So doing what's obligatory will define as getting to first base. You've got to get to first base. Now, is it possible to get further than first base? Is it possible? Can you get further than first? Yes, you can. You can get a double. You can even get a triple. You can even hit a home run. You can even hit a grand slam. All those things Roy doesn't know, though.
Oh, well.
We'll have to.
I'll let you.
Somebody will have to explain them.
If you're happy, believe it.
So my difficulty is just to repeat a little bit what we said last time. It's 3:00 in the afternoon, and I've been learning Torah since 9, and now my class is over, and I have an opportunity to either learn more Torah, which is obligatory, or say Tehillim, which is Chasidus. It seems to me that the obligatory takes priority over the Chasidus, and that I should be learning more Torah if I have that ability.
Correct. What's my proof? My proof is from what boys do in yeshiva. What do they do in yeshiva? At least in our yeshivas. I don't know what they do in, but in our yeshivas, what they do for the overwhelming majority of time that they're awake is they sit and are horvening over a Gemara. That's considered to be the greatest mitzvah of Talmud Torah. What about saying Tehillim? Is there a Seder in the yeshiva to say Tehillim? No, there's no Seder to say it. There's no Seder that every day you have to say Tehillim, at least in the official Seder of the yeshiva. Maybe if a Bacher would ask the Mashkiach, should I have a Seder in saying Tehillim? Maybe take 5 minutes every day without fail and say Tehillim. It's a very important thing. Okay? So it's not so much about saying that Torah, okay, well that's what you're saying here. So in other words, in a sense, I'm agreeing with you that to learn Torah is obligatory, and to say Tehillim, so to speak, is Chasidus. But I don't know if I would define it like that, but I would just define it as it's saying Tehillim would be part of an overall program of a Ben Torah, but it would be if he has the ability, in other words, to engage in deep analysis in the Gemara, then that is certainly the greatest mitzvah that he could do. That would be his obligation.
Mhm.
I'll tell you even something more. Right? Every year we have Yontif of Purim, and we lay in the Megillah both at night and in the morning.
Right.
And in yeshivas they also do the same thing. They lay in the Megillah at night and they lay in the Megillah in the morning. What happened to Seder? What happened to the Seder? What happened to Bava Kama and Bava Basra and Yavamas and Kesuvis? What do you mean, what happened to them? It's Purim. What do you mean it's Purim? Higisa bo yomam b'layla. Supposed to learn. If a person has the ability, he should engage in Torah day and night, the whole day and the whole night. So in fact, if you take a look, I think it's a Mishnah. I think if I remember correctly, the Mishnah in Megillah says Mavatlin Talmud Torah Kedei Likros Esa Megillah. So the Talmud tells us that you have to be mavato from your Torah and go and fulfill the mitzvah of the rabbinic mitzvah of Mikra Megillah. Talmud Torah is a mitzvah deraisa keneged kulam, and nevertheless they said Chazal that we want that you should be mavato from your Torah and to learn and to hear the Megillah. Okay. So I think it's the Marsha on the Gemara that asks and says, 1 second over here. Megillah is listening to the Megillah if you're paying attention, and you're supposed to pay attention to what's being said over here to the Megillah. Otherwise, you're not Yoetz. Is that called that I'm engaging in the mitzvah of Talmud Torah? Is the Megillah part of is it part of Torah? Is it part of what it means to learn Torah? Yes, of course it is. It's one of the Megillahs. It's part of Chaf Daled Sifrei Tanakh. It's part of the 24 books of Tanakh. Of course, it's a chelik of Torah, and someone who studies the Megillah and hears the Megillah, he's fulfilling a mitzvah Talmud Torah. 1 second, but the Mishnah says you have to be Mavatal Talmud Torah in order to listen to the Megillah. Why are you Mavatal Talmud Torah? You're fulfilling a mitzvah of Talmud Torah. Where's the bittul? Hear the question.
Yes.
So what's the answer?
Well, I don't know. I would guess you could say that when you're listening, you're passive. You're not really, it's not the same as if you're steiging. If you're going back and forth with your kavrusa, arguing about different points, it's a lot stronger learning than if you're just sitting and listening.
Right. That's the basic answer. Very good. So, in other words, we need Chazal to come along and tell us, yes, you have to lower your level of Talmud Torah over here. Lower the level of your mitzvah of Talmud Torah, so to speak, and engage in listening to, or if you're a Baal Koreh, you have to read it, you have to learn it, either one, to engage in the mitzvah of Mikra Megillah. That's what they commanded to do. So we see that in other words, we see there's certain times when it is appropriate to be mavatel from Torah.
Right.
So what is the point with that? So it's the same thing. In a Eist Sorah, there becomes an obligation to engage in saying Tehillim. This is a Kabbalah that we have that goes back, I don't know how long, but it's certainly well trenched, well accepted, and is done by every segment of the Torah world, whether you're whatever.
Rabbi's frozen.
Talmud Torah is Keneged Kulam, and certainly saying Tehillim.
Rabbi, you froze. You froze. We need to have you repeat the last two sentences, please.
Oh, okay. So even though we know that just like Megillah is a lesser a level of engagement in the midst of Talmud Torah, so too Tehillim is also Talmud Torah. Really, I mean, if a person understands what he's saying, if it is, it's a certain. But can it be compared to learning the Torah in depth? It's not the same level of mitzvah of Talmud Torah, but nevertheless, we see that in certain times there is what we could even say an obligation to be mavatil, unless you'll say no, you're not mavatil, but you're going to add on instead of by Aleinu, everybody's gonna run out of the base medrash, run out of the base HaKnesses. Hopefully they'll wait until Aleinu is finished and the Kaddish afterwards. If they do say Kaddish after Aleinu, like the Mishnah Berurah says that you're supposed to do, it hasn't actually been so well accepted even in the yeshiva world, to tell you the truth. But in any case, if you're going to say Tehillim, when do we say? We do an act of Hasidus, so to speak. It's beyond our schedule. We're not learning any less Bava Kama. We're going to just, instead of leaving after Aleinu, we're going to say a kapitel Tehillim. So that's how we fulfill the obligation to engage in saying Tehillim.
So is that Chassidus?
That is an act of Hasidus. Or you want to say, well, in a time of crisis, it's an obligation.
Yeah, well, I mean, in America,
probably
before I
is.
left,
Probably is.
yeah, in America, before I left, they used to always say a Kapitel Tehillim afterwards, almost always, because there was always something happening. There was always terrorist attacks, and I mean, there was a reason. They would say, because of thus and such, we're going to say Tehillim now.
Right. Okay. So in other words, we're getting to the point. We're exploring this issue further and further, and we're coming to the conclusion that really the only time that we are saying Tehillim is in a case of obligation.
Let's say I go to visit the kever of my mother, and when I go there, I say Tehillim. Right. Is that Chassidus, or is that part of the obligation of visiting the kever?
I mean, let's say there's a whole seder of what one says when one goes to a kever. It's laid out in the art scroll sefer on mourning.
Right. Exactly.
There's a whole seder, and this is a minhag. This is a minhag that that comes from various sources, various svarim that have spoken about what is it that one should do when visiting a kever. But I remember that Rav Erlangel Zatzal, he told us that the Chazon Ish was asked when he came from Vilna to make Aliyah, to go to Eretz Yisrael in the 1930s, and they asked him, "Oh, Rabbeinu, you lived in Vilna. Did you ever go to the kever? How often did you go to the kever of the Gaon Vilna, who was buried in Vilna?" And he said, "Actually, I never went." He was too busy. He was too busy. He felt he was obligated in the mitzvah of Talmud Torah, and therefore we have the Sforim of the Chazon Ish. Maybe we'd still have the Sforim of the Chazon Ish, even if we would go to the kever of the Vilna Gaon once in a while. But in any case, that was the custom. If we're talking about minhagim, that was the custom of the Chazon Ish. He did not feel any obligation to observe any custom to go to visit the Kvarim, but he felt that it was more of an obligation to learn Torah. So that's really a see, that's what's clouding our issue over here. This is what's clouding our issue. We're trying to get our perspective about what is this doing of what is this act of Hasidus that the Pele Yoetz is talking about. So when it comes to the mitzvah of Talmud Torah, it's very difficult to talk about it because for someone who's capable, he's basically always obligated in the mitzvah of Talmud Torah to the best of his ability. But this that he would say Tehillim is because of a certain specific tzara or a crisis. That's what we've been told. That's what we've been taught.
Okay, I want to ask that we said before that Chassidus is you going beyond your obligations. What if I don't learn Torah, even if I can, I don't, but I just say Tehillim. In other words, can I? Because do you have to, in order to go beyond what you're obligated to do, you've got to do what you're obligated to do first, and then you can
Right.
go. Then
Exactly.
you can go ahead. Then you can do Chassidus. Can you do so? If I don't learn Torah, but I just get up in the morning and or say what I have to say, but instead of learning Torah, I say the Tehillim.
Yeah.
Is that Chassidus? Can that be Chassidus?
Right. Yeah. You're making a very, very well said, Roy. Very well said. And we have to answer that no, that's not really called Hasidus as far as we understand. And if you remember, when we learned the Sefer Nefesh HaChaim, when we we were long ago, when we still used to go to Ramema, if anybody remembers going to Ramema to come to Samanapshi, that's when we were learning Sefer Nefesh HaChaim, and the Nefesh HaChaim himself he has a lot to say about this matter, an awful lot to say about this matter in the fourth section, in the Shar Daled, which is about the mitzvah Talmud Torah. And if you take a look over there, he broaches this question itself, and he says, who is the author of Tehillim? David HaMelech. What did David and the Chazal record that David HaMelech davened to Hashem a tefillah in regard to this Tehillim that he had composed and assembled, because the Gemara says that there was actually 10 different authors that authored the various prakim of Tehillim. And David HaMelech requested of Hashem that I don't remember whether he says the saying of Tehillim or the learning of Tehillim. Hopefully when we say it, we do have some understanding of what we're saying. And if we don't, we should certainly learn it, because it will have much more impact if we do, even though granted that it does have impact even if we don't know what we're saying. And the reason for that is because we are saying a pasuk which has become part of the Torah, because the Sefer Tehillim is also, like Megillah, a part of the 24 books of Tanakh. So it is part of Torah, and parts of Torah, psukim, even if one does not understand what one is saying, there is a certain value in saying the psukim of Torah. They do have an intrinsic power, even though they certainly have much more if we understand what we're saying. But in any case, the Nefesh HaChaim brings that David HaMelech requested from Hashem that the saying, the learning of Tehillim should be regarded by Hashem as much as Hashem regards the learning of what is it? Negoyim and Olos, very difficult and intricate, and a lot of details and very deep analysis of Seder Taros. And the Nefesh HaChaim goes on to say that the Chazal record that was David HaMelech's request of Hashem. And we do not know whether Hashem acceded to David HaMelech's request. It doesn't say it doesn't say in Chazal that Hashem said, "You got it, David." It doesn't say that. So the Nefesh HaChaim is this is his whole Shar Daled, that our biggest mitzvah if we want to talk about acts of Hasidus, going above and beyond what it is that we're obligated to do, because we want to give so much nachas ruach to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's the whole yesod of Hasidus. That's what the Pele Yoetz tells us over here. Well, the greatest Hasidus that we could do is engage in Olos and the Goyim and other Masechtas like that, and exert ourselves to our utmost in the mitzvah of Talmud Torah, which is Keneged Kulam. We have the Talmud Torah itself is a mitzvah which is Keneged Kulam, and it provides, so it has an intrinsic power, and the more that one exerts oneself and applies oneself in the mitzvah, the Chazon Ish says that is all the segulas of Talmud Torah that the Chazal say are set upon the Torah, which is learned with amel, with great effort and great attention, and etc. etc. So we still do not. So I think we have to agree with Roy, and we have to build our understanding of Hasidus based upon the fact that Hasidus is in addition to what we're required to do. So so therefore, again, when it comes to learning, we're saying that the greatest learning is the Olos and the Goyim and Bava Kama and Bava Basra. That's if we want to do the mitzvah, that's the greatest mitzvah. It's not a Hasidus to stop learning Bava Kama and learn and say Tehillim for an hour. But so therefore it's not correct for us to say that, oh, well, this is Hasidus if he wants to take this hour and learn and say Tehillim, and this would be if he wants to do Chazorah, this is something that's not Hasidus. As though to say it's less, as though to say that it's less. That would not be correct. That would not be a correct understanding. So you want to know, where does that leave us?
Well, what was our conclusion about the going to the kever and saying Tehillim?
Yeah, so this gets to be very, very difficult, this whole subject matter.
Right.
Because even if you'll say, okay, the next step is I'm not gonna say Tehillim instead of learning. I'll do that's we're not talking about that. We're talking, let's talk about different acts of Hasidus that we could do. And it doesn't involve learning anything. It doesn't involve saying anything. It talks about, let's talk about acts of, we're not required to do, we're only required to go this far, let's say, in a certain matter of avodas Hashem, and we endeavor to go beyond that. What we are required to do. I don't know what an example of that would be right now, but
Well, how about going to a kever?
Well, see, this is the thing. To call that an act of Hasidus, the Chazon Ish would say that it's, I'm afraid that the Chazon Ish might say that it's Bittul Torah.
Excuse me, I've been required.
Sorry to bother you. I just want to say bye-bye to you because I won't see you.
In other words, if a person would be
And I'll be sad.
I'll tell you even more. maybe I shouldn't tell you this, but I'll tell you it anyway because we're all friends over here. When I this was 2 years ago, was upcoming the yard side of my mother, and my mother, Aleh Shalom, is buried in Los Angeles. And I wanted very much to go to be able to be there and you know, give a nachas ruach to my to her neshama. So I asked a Rav what I should do. So he told me, you want to go in an airplane and fly to Los Angeles, taking hours and days to visit your mother? Look at you'll provide more nachas ruach and more satisfaction to her to not invest all that time and away from learning, away from Torah, away from avodas Hashem. It'd be better to not. And he told me, he says, my parents are buried in England. For the last 20 years, I have not gone there. So it may sound very extreme to all of you, because you know that this is an accepted thing, and since we live in Israel, it's not so easy to get to America, but we make the effort. We go the extra mile. We're doing an act of Hasidus. Well, guess what? It's not so pashut. And this really is a whole, if you want to know the truth, this is a whole chapter in the Mesilas Yesharim, which is called Mishkal HaChasidus. Mishkal means the weight, the weighing out weighing out the matter over here. On the one hand, we're quote unquote involved in an act of Hasidus. On the other hand, we may be derelict in fulfilling that act of Hasidus. That act of Hasidus may require us being derelict in our obligations. So we always have to know exactly what would be the best course of action for us to take. What is really the Ratzon Hashem. So we're still a bit stuck over here in the Pele Yoetz, trying to define what is an act of Hasidus that we're required to do. He says. This is what we have to find. We have to find an act of Hasidus which does not detract or take away from the fulfillment of our obligations. That's what we have to do. So look, I was just thinking like this. Perhaps for a person who learns Torah maybe 30 minutes a day, let's say, or maybe he doesn't even learn 30 minutes a day. Let's say he learns 30 minutes a week. It could be that in that case, it would be proper to go to visit the kever and say Tehillim. Maybe that would be better. So it all depends on this mishkal over here, I believe. It's in other words, the mishkal, the weighing out is relative to each person, each individual, what he has taken upon himself in his daily schedule, what he's capable of doing. And the Hasidus has to work in such a way that it doesn't take away. Okay, so without further ado, any other questions? Any other comments before we go further?
Well, I just was thinking of another example. Let's say I read in the paper, there's a war in Ukraine, and
Yeah.
there's tens of thousands of Jewish people who are suffering, who are refugees, they're homeless, they're dying, they're suffering.
Yeah.
And I say to myself, I can't just keep going on normal with my normal life in the face of this news. I've got to do something.
Okay.
So I say, okay, I'm gonna say Tehillim, daily Tehillim for half an hour in the merit of these people that hope that Hashem should help them.
Okay.
So would we say that because of the extenuating circumstance of the current events, even though I am taking away from time when I could be learning Torah, this is appropriate Chassidus?
Okay, it's a good question. In other words, maybe the better course of action would be to keep your regular Seder of learning, and don't take away from your learning to say Tehillim. But if you want to say Tehillim, instead of reading the newspaper for 30 minutes, say Tehillim instead. That would certainly be an act that right? So that's, in other words, that's more than you're doing now. I'm not saying that, I'm not chas v'shalom saying, Lou, that you take 30 minutes every day to read the newspaper. But I'm just, let's say there was a person like that.
I'm not admitting it.
Okay, so right, we'll go right along to the next step. So if that would certainly be that would be the way I believe would be the way. In other words, take time from your schedule that in any case you've designated for recreation or rest or eating or schmoozing, things that you need to do, some of them more than others, and see if you can take some time from that, and instead of doing those things, do a little bit less of that and a little bit more of saying Tehillim.
And that would be Chassidus.
Yes, because now you haven't taken 1 second away from your schedule, your regular schedule that you've obligated yourself to learn Torah. What you're doing now is, instead of doing instead of doing activity X, which I'm gonna take that time that I generally do activity X, and I'm going to go above and beyond the call of duty, what I've generally obligate myself during the course of a day, during the course of a week, during the course of the month, and I'm going to say Tehillim during that time. Ooh, yes, right.
Now, would it be the same calculation if instead of saying Tehillim, I'm working? There are places in Israel where they they set up to help the refugees, the Ukrainian refugees.
Okay.
So let's say I say, okay, I'm going to go for half an hour a day. I'm going to go to one of these shelters and I'm going to volunteer and help. Would that be the same exact calculation as if I said Tehillim during that time?
Are they helping just Jewish people, or is it just any Ukrainian who happens to be a refugee?
I don't know for sure. I know that there are aliyah. There are places that are focused on aliyah, which would be for Jews. Let's say it's a place that's focused on aliyah.
Right. So in other words, so you're doing. So then you would be doing a Maisa of Gemilas Chasodim.
Right.
To help out a fellow Jew who's missing something, and you're taking time out that you really don't really have. You haven't had that time up until now, because if you had that time, you'd be learning with that time. You're operating at your utmost in terms of your learning. And the rest of the time is just time that you need to, for your, in order to do, what you have to do.
We said before, it's instead of my half an hour of reading the paper.
Yeah, that's the easiest example, because that is totally unnecessary.
Right.
In other words, if you tell me, well, instead of taking my half an hour to sleep in the afternoon, I'm going to say Tehillim. Okay, that's very nice, but you might need that. The reason why you sleep for half an hour, maybe even more than that, in the afternoon, is because you need to do that. And if you don't do that, you're not going to be able to properly learn Torah. You're not properly going to be able to function. You're probably not going to be able to. But so that's a much more weighty issue, whether you should take out that time in order to say Tehillim. But perhaps in a situation like this, when there's people in the situation that they're in over there, perhaps it would be necessary even. But certainly, if you're talking about the half an hour that you have to engage in an activity which is has no benefit whatsoever, then certainly that would be a great place to start, to take that time. And instead of reading the newspaper, do the chesed, say the Tehillim. That's a no-brainer. That's a no-brainer.
And I'm assuming that if it was not the aliyah, but if it was just a general shelter, and it was a mixture of Jews and non-Jews, that would change it?
Better than reading the newspaper.
Right. Okay. So it doesn't change it really. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, so when we're going to read further over here, we're going to hopefully get some more understanding of what's going on. So now we're up to the second paragraph on page 326. Behold, and we call upon Mayor, please, to lead off the reading today.
Okay, it says, behold. Okay, my mic's on. Okay. Behold, according to the Holy Zohar and the Arizal, there is an obligation to practice all manners of piety. By doing so, a person builds the upper realms and provides contentment to his maker. No matter will be too difficult for a man who appropriately and passionately loves God. This is because individuals who truly love God will say, with that, we might die in order to provide satisfaction for our Maker, as is written in Shir Shirim. Therefore, beyond death, they loved you.
Okay,
So This,
so,
this seems to be a contradiction because
yeah,
in the first paragraph, I thought we defined Chassidus as non-obligatory. And now in this paragraph, he's saying there's an obligation to do Chassidus.
right. So either what the Zohar and the Rizal mean is that the understanding is that true. We cannot say that acts of Hasidus are in the same category of obligation as Krishma, Arvis, V'Shachris. Okay, I don't even think that the Zohar or the Arizal would maintain that the level of obligation of acts of Hasidus is the same level of obligation as saying Krishma in the morning and the evening. On the other hand, that's what he was saying in the first, that's what the Pele Yoetz was saying in the first paragraph over here, that a person should not look at acts of Hasidus as with the approach that, well, I don't need to do that because I'm only required to do that. What I'm required to do. On that, the Pele Yoetz told us that he's worried that such an individual falls into the category of the Mishnah in Chagiga, who says that he doesn't have pity on the honor of his maker and be better that he not come into the world. Right?
Right.
Okay, but he still has not told us exactly what these acts of piety are. So we're still basically in the dark. So I don't know. Maybe we have to keep reading. Maybe we will get some idea of what type of things that he's talking about here. Hopefully, we will.
Well, it sounds like he's saying one thing he says is that an act of piety is something that demonstrates a person who appropriately and passionately loves God.
Mm-hmm.
So now we have. I mean, we still have to define what that means. But I guess that's somewhat of a criteria. Somehow it has to do with loving God.
Oh, what does it mean to love Hashem? Well, that we got to go back to the beginning of the Sefer. Didn't he have a whole entry on that? That was his first entry.
Let's see.
Page 24.
Yeah. Love the Holy One.
Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 pages he has on this.
Wow. Wow.
We also say it twice a day in the Shema. Actually, more than twice, but
Oh, v'ahavta
Hashem
Elokecha.
Elokecha. Yeah.
V'chol levavcha, v'chol nafshecha, v'chol me'odecha. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
It seems like it's the ultimate.
Yeah.
So it says in the second paragraph that it's done by thinking alone.
Maybe it's one of the 6 constant mitzvot.
Yeah, it says that also.
Oh, okay. I didn't go to page 1, but okay.
Yeah, it's a constant mitzvah which a person can fulfill every moment just through remembering. It's performed with thinking and reflection alone.
Hmm.
I mean, it would seem to me that you can show that you love God by learning Torah. Even though it's an obligation, it's still a dedication to Hashem that you're learning Torah. I want to come close to Hashem, so I'm learning his Torah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's Chazal say that on the first paragraph of Shema.
Uh-huh.
It's a Medrash Tanchuma that learns a smichus, a legal connection between the first pasuk and the second one. The first pasuk says, "V'ahavtas Hashem Elokecha." Okay, good. Love Hashem. So, how do I do that? So it tells you right in the very next pasuk. You want to love Hashem? These words which I command you today should be on your heart. Vishinantam, levanecha. Learn Torah. That's the greatest fulfillment of Avas Hashem. And we could see that clearly in the way the Rambam has structured his compendium, the Mishnah Torah. He has 14 different sections, 14 different svarim, and the Sefer Ava has the mitzvah of Talmud Torah, Hilchos Talmud Torah, in Sefer Ava, because that's the expression of Ava.
So we come around in a circle now, because we're saying that learning Torah is the greatest way to show your love of Hashem, and Hasidus is showing your love of Hashem, but learning Torah is not Hasidus. And our time is up.
And our time is up. Okay. Good thing we don't have to answer that question.
Baruch Hashem. I love you, God.
All right.
Okay, see you in a few minutes.
Okay.
Yeshkayach.